Let's talk about Project Power. This is an R-rated action crime thriller, sci-fi elements, superhero-ish, an hour and 53 minutes, released August 14th of this year, 2020, year of our Lord. Synopsis from IMDb is this: when a pill that gives the users unpredictable superpowers for 5 minutes hits the streets of New Orleans, a teenage dealer and a local cop must team with an ex-soldier to take down the group responsible for its creation. I mean, can't go wrong with that synopsis. It's directed by Joost and Ariel Schulman. They are the directing team behind Paranormal Activity 3 and 4, the Catfish movie, Nerve, and the upcoming Mega Man movie. They also directed digital shorts for Condé Nast Entertainment, including one of my favorite videos that they used to do back before they got all YouTubey, Australian Psycho with Margot Robbie, where she reenacts the getting ready montage when Patrick Bateman is getting ready. He does the shower and the face peel and all that. Margot Robbie reenacts it with like her own beauty routine. I thought that was kind of a clever idea. It was written by Mattson Tomlin, who doesn't have a ton of credits, but wrote The Batman, the new Batman movie coming out with Robert Pattinson, and the upcoming Mega Man. So it seems like they've formed quite the trio. Here's the cast. Jamie Foxx plays Art, aka the Major. He is, I don't want to get into any spoilers, but he's kind of on the lam. I'll say that much. You find out that he has a daughter, and then he's basically looking for his daughter, on the hunt for his daughter, trying to find her. So he's ex-military. That's the ex-military mentioned in the synopsis of Jamie Foxx's character. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who I haven't seen in some time now, plays Frank Shaver, a New Orleans Police Department cop. I love JGL. I've liked him in a lot of stuff. I thought he was great in Dark Knight Rises. He played a cop in Dark Knight Rises, and I thought it worked. And I was very excited with the end of the Dark Knight Rises. If you haven't seen Dark Knight Rises yet, Jesus Christ, dude. I mean, what are you doing? Feel free to pause, go watch it, come back. One of the final shots of him standing on the platform that's rising into the Batcave, and also revealing that they were insinuating that he is Robin in this universe. And then he's ascending into the Batcave, and that kind of implies that he's going to be the next Batman. So I would think like, was it Darkwing? Whoever the Batman Beyond character is, that's kind of loosely tied to what the Batman progression is. Batman ages out, and so Robin takes his place, takes the mantle. And so I was very excited. That gave me chills when I saw that. You got the rising music, and he's rising into the Batcave, and it's like, yes, fuck yes. And then it's like, Nolan's done with the trilogy. We're gonna like reboot it or remake it. And then JGL is just caught left hanging in the wind. I would love to. I never actually found out what his take was on that, because it's like you read that and you're like, oh fuck, I'm set. I am the new Batman for like at least 3 more movies. And then like, nah, sorry. I mean, he had Looper, which I loved Looper. I guess was that 2012 as well? Yeah, it's been a hot minute since JGL has really come through in like a big role. He was okay. I mean, he did infuse some humor into it, but it's almost like he's a little too silly or goofy or forced. It's like you have the comic relief, but then he's also giving like impassioned speeches about New Orleans. That really was like, is this happening right now? You know, I understand you want to emphasize everything that New Orleans has gone through and like the resilience of the city and its town and whatnot, but it felt a little, his speech about New Orleans towards the end, I think, or something like that, it just felt a little heavy-handed, maybe. I don't know. If you're from New Orleans, comment, subscribe, like, but also comment on what you think about his portrayal, because it seemed to be laying it on a little thick, but maybe I'm just too jaded or cynical to appreciate how much he loved his city and how much he would do for it. You know, he's wearing like he's wearing the Saints jersey. I think most casual movie fans probably don't know Steve Gleason was on the Saints. This was after Katrina. Saints come back to the Dome. I think it's the first game back. It's Monday night against the Falcons. Crowd's psyched, fired up because it's a division rival. It's the first home game back after the hurricane. And Gleason comes out of nowhere, blocks a punt, takes it for a touchdown. People go nuts. He ended up getting diagnosed with ALS. The block punt became a symbol of recovery. There was a documentary, which I haven't watched yet, but he was awarded the Congressional Gold Medal. When I saw him wearing that, I was like, that's awesome. That's a great touch. I love that. It definitely speaks to like the heart of New Orleans, what that town has gone through, blah, blah. The speech, I thought kind of tilted it over was just a little too much. He was like, I know how important this speech is to the movie. It really became this thing where it was like, it just felt canned, scripted. Dominique Fishback plays Robin Reilly, street smart power dealer who aspires to be a rap artist. I think she's like 11 or 12 years old. She's got a sick mama who needs her prescriptions and her soup. Very important. Not just prescriptions. She also needed that soup. Colson Baker, aka Machine Gun Kelly, as Newt, who is Robin's cousin and also a fellow power dealer, possesses the ability to self-immolate, which is a great word which I could not think of when I was describing this movie to someone. I was like, he combusts. He just incinerates. He in fuego. Like I could not figure out what the word is for like he can just turn on flames on his body. Like Johnny the Torch, the Human Torch, Johnny from Fantastic Four. Rodrigo Santoro as Biggie, one of Power's creators, possesses the ability to rapidly increase in size and strength. I won't give away Jamie Foxx's power just yet, but I will tell you JGL also has a power. He buys the power from Dominique Fishback, the young child dealer, and befriends her in the process. And I won't spoil his power. And then you have Amy Landecker as Gardner. She's like head of a secret operation. Kiana Simone Simpson as Tracy. That's Art's daughter. She also has a power that I will not spoil. Adrienne Ward Hammond as Irene. I can't remember Irene. Come on, Irene. I just don't remember. Courtney B. Vance, who I'm a big fan of, as Captain Crane. Didn't get a lot of screen time. Kind of surprised. Kind of a big name actor. I would have thought he would have commanded more screen time or demanded more screen time, but it was very limited. I think there were only like probably 2, maybe 3 scenes, and they were brief. They weren't very long. So Casey Neistat, YouTuber, famous YouTuber, as Moto. I don't believe he speaks. So spoiler, sorry. I'm sure if you're a fan, you don't give a shit. You just get glad to see him on the quote unquote big screen, major motion picture. Yoshi Sudarso as Knife Bones. You know what? I'm just going to say that. He's a henchman, and I'll just say his name is Knife Bones, and I'll let you do the math on what his power is. Film had a total production budget of $85.1 million with $80.4 million spent on location in Louisiana. Mwah. So nice to see that happening. So many films and movies taking place in New Orleans, and truth be told, I've got probably a good 25% or more of my screenplay that I'm working on takes place bachelor party, New Orleans. So be on the lookout. Hitting theaters never. A, because theaters probably won't exist anymore, and B, because I'll never finish the screenplay. 62% of critics gave this a favorable review with an average rating of 5.69 out of 10. 57% of the audience gave this a favorable review with an average rating of 3.33 out of 5. Those feel low. So I would say I would go like 3.5 out of 5. I would probably go 6.5 out of 10. But it's because I'm a sucker for this genre. I'm a sucker for Jamie Foxx. I'm a sucker for JGL and Courtney B. Vance. It doesn't feel like superhero saturation. It's a different take on superheroes, more realistic. So I would get a slightly higher ratings than that. Not much higher, but slightly higher. So what did the critics have to say? A street drug that can kill you or give you superpowers for 5 minutes sparks the sci-fi head trip along with acting MVP Jamie Foxx. Whatever the movie lacks in plausibility, it makes up for in showing us a familiar world spinning off its axis. And this was a common criticism of critics. It was just like not plausible. And it's like, seems pretty plausible to me. Some scientist somewhere figures out that you can put these powers. You can basically you twist the It's a capsule. You twist the capsule, pop it in, and why I don't think it has a broader adoption rate in my HO is you can consume the pill and then you could potentially just explode and just spontaneously combust. That could happen to you, but you don't know it until you take it. So you got to take it to find out what your power is, and your power might be, I just blow up and die. So probably is why it's not blowing up like it should, is because you could die. But if you don't, you become a superhero for 5 minutes. And so that's how the movie begins. You got this dealer who's handing out the pills just left and right for free to get these dealers to sell it and get it out there. Plausibility, though, it's like, what is so implausible about this? I didn't really grasp that. It's like, okay, scientists found a way to find some mixture of something from someone something that can unlock human potential. I don't think it's that crazy. Call me crazy. Call me maybe. A vibrant and crazy, thought-provoking, immensely entertaining film could have been even more resonant had it not settled for a relatively conventional final act we've seen in dozens of thrillers. I mean, how did you want it to end, dude? How did you want it to end? I mean, yeah, I wasn't like head over heels about the ending, but they painted themselves into a corner where it's like, what else could you do here? I mean, yes, I guess they could have set it up more easily for a sequel. I'm on the fence. I could see a sequel, I guess. But the way they ended it didn't feel too much like a sequel. Project Power is the kind of action sci-fi bone cruncher where the cast is better than the material. I wouldn't argue with that. I think if you have anyone else playing the Jamie Foxx character, I'm probably not on board. You know, when I saw Jamie Foxx with Joost and Gordon-Levitt, I was like, okay, I like this duo. But even with those two, you didn't get much screen time together. Would have liked to see a little more of that, but instead they went with him teaming up with Robin more, the younger drug dealer, which, you know, I get it. I understand, but I would have liked to see more scenes with those two. The characters are more interesting than the premise. I would agree with that. And the dialogue chugs along in the middle. Yeah, not crazy good dialogue. Like I said, there was that forced speech from JGL towards the end. Some of the lines were a bit, I'm not going to say cringy, but it's like we could have probably brainstormed that one a little bit better. Project Power riffs amiably on the Incredible Hulk, Johnny Storm, Fantastic Four, Human Torch, Wolverine, and even Frozone from The Incredibles. Those are facts, #facts. But for all the patently corny bits and some 17 attempts at an ending, I don't know about all that, Power still somehow makes it easy to suspend your disbelief in your imaginary degree in biochemistry and just let it ride. Yeah, dude, I mean, if you have a degree in biochemistry, this is probably a downer for you because they tend to like gloss over a lot of things. But do you really want to watch a movie for a fucking advanced degree in biochemistry? You want like an advanced lesson in biochemistry? I'm not going to lie, it wasn't exactly straightforward. They mentioned at one point, they're mentioning like Henrietta Lacks, and I had to Google that. But then we're talking about animals have superpowers that they don't get the kind of publicity that they deserve, and that us humans can have those what seem to be such awe-inspiring powers that certain animals have. I mean, yeah, I guess for legitimacy, they could have gone a little bit deeper into the details of the biochemistry. I wouldn't have hated that. Okay, I'm coming around on that. The undercooked plot works just well enough to fuel this vehicle for Jamie Foxx and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, mashing up old movies in a fast-paced package. Yeah, pacing was definitely not an issue. And then we have some trivia here. Gardner, that's the operative. So we're starting to get into spoilers now. Sound the alarm. Sound the motherfucking alarm. Before we get into the trivia and the spoilers, Captain Crane, that's Courtney B. Vance's character, reveals the government personnel are pressuring him to terminate any investigation into Power and gives Frank a picture of the man they suspect to be the source of the drug, and that's Art, played by Jamie Foxx. So now Frank is after Art. Art's on the lam, and you ultimately find out, and this is where the Wolverine kind of tribute, ripoff, homage, you be the judge, comes from. Art plays a guy that's similar to Logan in that military guy was used as a test subject for a secret military operation where they're testing on him and trying to inject him with superpowers, or experimented on him to create superpowers. Yeah, experimented on him to create superpowers. Whereas Logan already had the superpowers and they kind of enhanced him. Jamie Foxx's character didn't have the powers, but then they created superpowers, and then he ended up having a kid. The kid has the superpowers, doesn't need a pill, already has the powers. This is where I get confused. It's like, why is the government, and I think they explain this, but the government creates this pill. They find out they're able to create superpowers. They're able to put it in pill form, and they want to use the pill to give to soldiers to fortify our military, which it's like, we already have the best military in the world. The military budgets to the real. Do we really need like super soldiers at this point? From the government standpoint, it's like, by you creating this pill, you're just creating the opportunity for the enemy to get better, aren't you? I guess it's a race to who can create the pill first, because it's like, if the Russians do it and they have the superpowers and we don't, then we're fucked, and World War III we lose. Take a L in WW3. So the government decides to hand out these pills to an area, see how it goes. Like, this is their way of like testing and sampling to see how it goes. And so that's why they're preventing they have the captain under their control, telling him like, don't interfere in any of this shit. Meanwhile, JGL is like, we've already lost. Like, there is no law. Like, you think I'm breaking the law by taking power, but we're not. It doesn't matter what we do because these dudes in suits will come and just like stop everything anyway. So it's like what? Which that I guess that was a cool scene where it's like the camouflage dude was like trying to rob a bank. So spoiler, JGL takes. It makes this cool noise too when you twist the capsule. It's like, and he pops the pill, and apparently his skin is impervious. Like he can resist bullets. You can see at one point, camouflage guy gets his hands on the gun. Gordon-Levitt's on his knees, and the camouflage guy points the gun at JGL's head, pulls the trigger, boom, and JGL falls over. But it's like there's no hole because it just bounces off. Just like he ends up getting like a really bad headache or concussion. Concussion protocol. He should have been in concussion protocol. I mean, if you're the captain, that's just like, what are you doing? That's a fine. That's a suspension for sure. Yeah, I mean, you got to fight fire with fire. You know what I'm saying? Jamie Foxx's character, after leaving the military, is recruited by Telios, private defense contractor. Project Power is this secret undercover operation from the government that I assume Telios is behind. Like Telios pitched this to the government and was like, we developed this. And the government's like, well, we can't be fully on board. We need to test it. And so Telios is out there in the streets in Nolans feeding the kids power pills. I will say the Machine Gun Kelly, that one scene of Machine Gun Kelly and Jamie Foxx in the apartment building where he's like the Human Torch, engulfed in flames, and Jamie Foxx trying to fight a dude on fire. Like that was pretty balls. That was the balls. Yeah. I like that a lot. The pill's powers are derived from the abilities of animals. And this is pretty interesting. Art confronts Gardner on the ship, the Genesis or whatever, where his daughter is. And so he's kind of, he's in a tight spot and he's like, but I got to do what I got to do. And they're like, well, you give us your daughter and we'll give you back Robin, the drug dealer. We'll do the old trade. And he's like, nah, takes out the pill, twists it, pops it. And he like looks like he's about to explode. Like he's just raging and he yells and screams and lets out this big burst. And this kind of like energy explosion that comes from his body just like completely just disintegrates everyone except Robin. I didn't get that. Like there are good people around him on his team and none of them got hurt. Somehow he's this like bubble that he created of energy, took out all the bad guys, just like completely just wiped them out, disintegrated them. And then none of the good guys were affected by it, which that was a little, maybe that's what they were talking about with the plausibility. Like that's not plausible. And you come to find out, I think it was before that he has the powers. Jamie Foxx's character has the powers or the abilities of a pistol shrimp, which I'd never heard of before in my life, but I did a little research on the wiki. The PED, and it says that the pistol shrimp competes with much larger animals such as the sperm whale and the beluga whale for the title of loudest animal in the sea. The pistol shrimp snaps a specialized claw shut to create a cavitation bubble that generates acoustic pressures. As the acoustic pressures extend out from the claw, the bubble reaches speeds of 62 miles per hour and releases a sound reaching 218 decibels, which is strong enough to kill a small fish. The duration of the click is less than 1 millisecond. Whoever created that pistol shrimp was like, the co-creator was probably like, I guess it's okay. It's just like a shrimp. Like, what can it do? And the other co-creator was like, check this fucking shit out. I added a little modification to the shrimp. The snap can also produce sonoluminescence from the collapsing cavitation bubble. So as it collapses, the bubble reaches temperatures of over 7,700 degrees Celsius. And if you're like, wow, that's pretty hot. How hot is that, Neal? Great question. The surface temperature of the sun is estimated to be around 5,500 degrees Celsius. So it's 2,200 degrees Celsius more hotter than the fucking sun. The sun. That's pretty badass. And how I don't know about that or I've never seen that, I have to go down like a whole YouTube black hole on pistol shrimp, basically. After reading that, I don't know how you don't. You got to think the small fish that's getting killed, that's got to be painless, right? That's basically like nuclear bomb, like he's standing next to a nuclear bomb going off type thing. Like you're not going to feel any of that. It's just going to get blown to smithereens or get knocked out. Can the pistol shrimp selectively target people in the bubble? That's where I think the plausibility comes into the hand. There's some trivia here, some spoilers. Gardner defends the use of experimentation on Tracy by recalling the true life case of Henrietta Lacks. As I mentioned before, Lacks was an African-American woman who had cervical cancer. The biopsy of her cancer was used without her knowledge to create the HeLa cell line. I mean, they didn't even like try and disguise that they took it from her. I mean, it's HE from Henrietta and HLA from lax, Hella cell line. That is the first immortalized human cell line and one of the most important cell lines in medical research. Prior to that discovery, human cells in the lab died within a few days. Henrietta's cells have enabled countless research and progress. I think the controversy there, if I remember correctly from reading that Wikipedia entry, is that scientists did all that without her consent or without the family's consent. And I don't think they ever got compensated. I think maybe recently they might have gotten some, I don't want to say reparations, but huge discovery that they didn't give the okay for. So how that relates to Project Power, experimentation on Tracy, Bear calling Henrietta lax, it's a little, I guess there are certain similarities, but it's not exactly the same. Multiple uses of the line, the next step in human evolution, maybe nods to the same line having been spoken in the X-Men movies. Directed by Bryan Singer, the movie's considered the precursors for our current superhero genre films. Well, yeah. What was there before that? The line was also used in the rebooted trilogy that began with X-Men First Class. So this and the next movie we're going to talk about, they both feel like X-Men-esque type movies, but on a much lower budget. Would I like to see a Project Power sequel? Yes. I don't know that necessarily Jamie Foxx is the dude that they would go with, but who knows? I don't know that you do Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Is it more of an anthology series where you see someone else that was in that same group with Jamie Foxx, who's got his own demons or struggles or missing person, and then you focus on another cop in another city, you put him in a football jersey of a meaningful player, give him a speech at the end. I enjoyed it. I liked it. I think Netflix has really stepped up their game in terms of original movies that feel more like blockbuster movies you would see in the theater in the summer, big old bucket of popcorn, Extraction, Project Power. I think they're finally dipping their toe into not just like, The Beasts of No Nation and Roma and those kind of like Oscar bait dramas. They're now starting to get into these like pretty prolific action movies, and I'm all for it, especially during these crazy uncertain times.